With Uber Reserve, good things come to those who plan ahead. Family vacay? Reserve your ride as soon as you book your flights. To all the planners, now you can reserve your Uber ride up to 90 days in advance. See Uber app for details.
Welcome back to Podcast Royal. And if we weren't already, we are definitely now Swifties, aren't we, Rachel?
I mean, I think we kind of were already. Like, I'm thinking about when we saw that movie in the theater. So, yes, we are definitely like extra level Swifties this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's safe to say that one of the big viral stories of the week is seeing Taylor Swift take a selfie with the Waleses. We saw Prince William, Prince George, and Princess Charlotte at the Eras Tour in London over the weekend. And speaking of us being Swifties, I I mean, I've never considered myself one. I love her music, but I did not try to get tickets for any of her concerts. We did, like you said, we got to see the movie of her concert on the big screen last year,
Mm-hmm.
had our girls' night, and I have to say, after seeing the movie, I definitely understand why people buy the concert tickets because it was really fun. And I actually wish I would have bought a ticket now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know where we would have seen her, but she is just as talented as the day is long. And little Charlotte is such a huge Swiftie, so her life, like her little face in that photo, I mean, that is the happiest girl on the planet. And those kids deserve, and William for that matter, deserve a happy night after everything they've been through. So I love to see that.
Definitely. So speaking of Swifties, yeah, I said I wouldn't have considered myself one because I've never been one to go and analyze all of her song lyrics or, get all dressed up. But her music is a lot of fun. So I have to ask you, Rachel, I can't remember if we talked about this on another episode. Do you have a favorite Taylor Swift song?
Oh man, so I loved Taylor Swift when she was still really country focused and like
Yeah.
in her early years. Like the Fearless album, I listened to that on that was kind of when she was merging from country into pop. But when we went to see the Eras Tour movie, there were songs from her newer catalog that I'd never heard because I like Taylor Swift. I have nothing against her, but I'm not a diehard Swiftie, and I'm becoming one more all the time because she dates a Kansas City Chiefs player, and that's my hometown football team. And plus, I just like Taylor Swift as a human being. But when we watched the movie, there were some songs that I'd never heard that I loved, like from
Yeah.
her newer stuff. So, I mean, for favorite song, I mean, that's tough. From Tortured Poets Department, which is the latest record, of course, I Can Do It With the Broken Heart is my favorite song from that record. I can tell you that much. I mean, I don't dislike any of her music, but I really like the older stuff. I like the stuff from Red 1989. I just like she's a talented person. I don't know if you have a favorite song.
Yeah, I don't know if I could pick one favorite. So many of her songs are catchy. I did really love it when she was in country music as well. From her newer stuff, though, okay, well, I'll go back. So I do really like Lover. I think that's a great
Yeah,
song.
that's a
For
good song.
newer stuff, you know what song always gets stuck in my head is Lavender Haze. I
Yeah,
really
yeah.
like that one.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
there's one called, okay, so when we were watching the movie, I think the song is called Don't Blame Me. I think that's what it's called. Like people that love Taylor Swift are like, oh my God, scream. But I think that's what it's called. But the album version is fine, but the Eras Tour version is so great. It's way better. Like normally I don't say that the live is better than the record, but in this case, I think it's called Don't Blame. It's just such a great song. And that's one of the songs that I saw in the movie. And I came home and I just listened to it on repeat, and it's she's just immensely talented, and just this Eras tour has really just taken over the world. So
yeah, yeah, no, it totally has. I mean, you would have thought any other artist by now, it seems like the crowds would be dying down, but everywhere she goes, it seems to be a
mhm.
sellout show.
Yeah, she's got a lifelong legendary career ahead of her.
Well, you want to go ahead and get into the Royal Rundown since we're already talking about a story?
Yeah, I feel like we should kick it off with Taylor Swift because where else? Like, it's such a happy moment, you know?
Yeah, let's start with the big story. So, like I said, over the weekend, both Taylor Swift and the Prince and Princess of Wales Instagram accounts shared a photo of Taylor at the London concert, and she was taking a selfie. So, in the Prince and Princess of Wales version, it's Taylor with Prince William, George, and Charlotte. And in Taylor's version,
Taylor's version, I see what you did there.
yeah, yeah, pun intended.
Mhm.
Travis Kelce was photobombing in the background. So I thought that was really unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, talk about Travis Kelce, like perks of dating Taylor Swift, meeting the future King of England, right? Like that's well,
Serious.
two future kings of England. So that's so cool. And I'm a big Chiefs fan. I'm kind of a poser Chiefs fan. I'm like it's easy to bandwagon them right now because they win Super Bowls all the time, but I did have season tickets with my family when I was growing up. So I'm not too much of a bandwagon, but yeah, I like Travis Kelce without Taylor Swift, and I really like them together.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but I did know that Taylor was having her concert in London, and I did expect Prince William and the kids would be there. I figured they would have some private access, but I really did not expect a photo, especially on both accounts. I also was really surprised to see Zara and Mike Tyndall there with the family having a great time. I don't know, were you surprised by any of that?
I wasn't surprised that the family went to the show because the Eras Tour is such a big deal that you don't even really have to be a Swiftie to want to go. It's that much of a cultural
Mhm.
moment. And I know that Charlotte is a huge Swiftie, but I have to say that William wins Dad of the Year because he was at the Taylor Swift concert on his birthday. That was his 42nd birthday on Friday, the 21st. So that is A plus dad
Yeah.
goals and dadding right there, even though it looked like he was having a great time, which I know you're going to talk about in a second. But I want to drop in here that Taylor's coming back to London in August, I think for 6 shows. So I wonder maybe if Kate and Louis might join, then if Kate's feeling better. And I don't know why Louis keeps getting left out. We'll talk about that in a minute, but maybe they'll come back for more. I don't know, but I was just so happy to see those smiles, you know?
Oh yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, I was trying to think about what was my favorite part of all of this. Was it Travis Kelce photobombing them? But I did land on, and you said I was going to talk about this. I put a note in here to mention it. Prince William dancing in the audience was too good. I just love that he let loose and have a good time like that. I thought his dance moves were great. I mean, I think it's safe to say that all the royals are probably Swifties because we had Prince William dancing in the stands. And then I don't know if you saw this, but at Buckingham Palace on Friday, the band actually played Taylor's song Shake It Off, which was really cool. I think it was during the changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace.
I did
And
see that. Yes. And like what a great song for William to dance to, right? I really like Shake It Off. That might be up there with one of my favorite Taylor songs. Come to think of it. And like William just like it was like he was able to let loose everything, all of the stress from the past 6 months and truly just shake it off. And I love to see it. Again, I do admit though, I was sad to not see little Louis there. I wonder if he was upset about missing it too. And I got to tell you, I wonder when Louis is going to finally be old enough to start going to concerts or events later in the evening because he was left out of the coronation concert, remember? And now he's left out of maybe he didn't want to go. Who knows? But I know Kay was at home with him, so it just kind of feels like he's always left out of the evening stuff. But like I said, maybe
yeah,
in August he'll get his chance.
maybe so. I kind of feel like at his age, he doesn't really care about going to the Taylor concert. I mean, I do think a little girl his age might care more, but I'm not sure if he would appreciate it as much as the older kids. And I do imagine it would be putting him probably a little past his bedtime. So I feel like Charlotte and George are at this great age where they can go to a concert with Prince William because, I mean, they're self-sufficient enough that, he can go, he can have a good time and not really feel like he's on duty looking after, a small child. And he can kind of, well, we saw him let loose. So, I mean, I feel like the Princess of Wales was probably bummed that she missed it. So I like to think that Louis stayed home with her and maybe they had a movie night or something.
And look, it would be a hazard to Taylor Swift if Louis was there because he might just steal the entire show from her. Although I do want to see Louis like do a Prince William style like shake it off dance. I would live for that.
Well, I thought everyone did look like they were having fun. I noticed that Taylor Swift really seems to be so thoughtful in
Mhm.
everything she does. And I was thinking about how when you're in that role and you're getting on a stage with thousands of people that, you don't know any of these people. As a performer, I feel like you could get super, super nervous leading up to that. And so I was thinking, her going and meeting people like George and Charlotte and Prince William and seeing them probably does a lot to calm your nerves, to connect with people who are there with their family, and it's like a reminder that everyone's cheering you on. They're there to have a great time too. They're not there to criticize, they're there to sing along and have fun. And so I feel like maybe those little meetings like that probably do a lot to help her prep for shows.
Mhm.
And pictures like that really show us how close she is with the Wales family. I mean, we've seen her with Prince William before in the past. And so I love seeing that they have that relationship.
Yeah, same. And I read, I think it was in Hello that the Wales family was running really late. And they knew that they weren't going to stay after the show because they left early so that they wouldn't get mobbed. And I get that. But they were running late. They were afraid they were going to miss this private meet and greet. And they showed up with 25 minutes until the showtime, but it happened. Obviously, we saw the pictures. Everybody looks so happy. Everybody looks thrilled to be there. And like you said, I think Taylor is a genuinely good human being. And I think William and obviously the kids are genuinely good human beings too. So it's just fun to see good people hanging out with each other.
Well, before we move on from this story, I'm going to point out one more thing. So I saw Mike and Zara standing next to Prince William and the children at the concert. I do have to give Mike credit for having a little bit more of a festive outfit than Prince William. So, I mean, Prince William might not be afraid to shake it off, but Mike Tyndall in the pink shorts and the matching button up. You know what I actually thought when I saw him in one of the photos? I was like,
Hmm.
his outfit is honestly kind of giving Travis Kelce vibes because we know Travis Kelce dresses a little bit wild too.
I feel like Travis Kelce and Mike Tyndall would have a hell of a time together. Like
Oh yeah,
that would be like I would love to be a fly on the wall for that like session over a drink. You know what I mean? Like that would
I
be so
agree.
much fun.
Well, anyway, that was such a fun bright spot from last
So
week's
much
show.
happy in June. Like I love this. It's been such a freaking dark year in the royal family, and it's so nice to have had Trooping the Color, and then like right behind that, this great moment with those smiles. It's just so good.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that the concert was on Prince William's 42nd birthday, and he had a big week last week with all these events. And somehow they still managed to find time to share a little birthday photo with us on Instagram. And I guess it wasn't Prince William that found the time to do it. I would imagine it was the Princess of Wales because we know she took the photo. So we saw that picture come out and she had it captioned with a sweet little note, which I'll read for listeners in just a second. But it was pretty obvious that this picture was taken, I guess, during the same trip as the Father's Day beach photo. It looked like they were kind of in the same similar clothes. And it's a little bit of a different picture than what we would normally get in a royal birthday photo.
It was so much fun. It
It
was like it's like the two sides, like the Father's Day photos from the back, and
yeah,
now you've turned it around and here's the birthday photo. It's like
that's true.
the continuity there is pretty great.
Well, so I'm sure listeners saw it, but if they didn't, it's Prince William and all three children. They're on the beach and it's like a major action shot. They're jumping pretty high in the air. Their legs are kind of up off the ground. They're all holding hands. I'm just gonna say, I know there was a lot of jokes, and we've talked about this a lot around the Photoshop fiasco from Mother's Day. I do think this was a true action shot, but it's so perfect. Don't they look like they could have just been photoshopped in?
Now, don't start that. I mean, there's no chance that they were like, there's
No,
no
no, no.
chance there's any editing on there. And I know that's not what you're insinuating, but yeah, it was a perfect. I mean, that like Kate's is kind of a skilled photographer, and I just wonder, like, was that a one take wonder? Like, or did they have to do that a couple times? You know what I mean?
It was
Like, that's a
perfectly
great
clear.
shot. Yeah, it was perfect. So,
Yeah.
I mean, just a wonderful, like, snapshot of an awesome family moment. Like, kids grow up so fast, and I already feel like the Wales kids are growing up way too fast, and it just felt like childhood to me. It felt like innocence and freedom and childhood. It just was awesome. It's just been a great month of June. I'm into this.
Well, definitely no Photoshop
No
activations
way.
over here, but yeah, no, I agree. It was a it was a fun shot. It wasn't stuffy at all. And between that and Dancing to Taylor, I just feel like we're seeing a whole new side of Prince William here lately. And
I
so
know. The happy Prince William is my favorite Prince William.
me too. And I'll just read really quick. So the message that Catherine left to go along with the photo said, "Happy birthday, Papa. We all love you so much." And she signed it with a C and a little X, which I assume is for a kiss, like X's and O's, hugs and kisses.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really sweet.
Yes, and there was another interesting photo of William that I'm sure you and our listeners saw. So, royal crossover moment alert. So, William and King Frederick of Denmark posed for a photo with Frederick's daughter, Princess Josephine, ahead of the England versus Denmark soccer match at Euro 2024 in Germany on June 20th, which was last Thursday. I think we mentioned in
Yeah.
the last episode that he was going to travel to Germany for that match. And so the photo was captioned, "May the best team win." And you know what? Nobody really won. I like soccer tangentially. I don't really know a whole lot about it, but the game ended up in a tie, 1-1. So I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know what happens, especially in a tournament, if it ends in a draw like that. But you know what? At least England did not lose the day before William's 42nd birthday. I don't know, but I really don't know what happens then, but I guess they both won or they both lost,
Well,
depending on how you look at it. I don't know.
I have to say I don't follow soccer or football, really, but I did see the photo. I believe I shared it on our Instagram last week, and I felt like it was kind of a royal worlds collide kind of
Mm-hmm.
moment. We're
Mm-hmm.
seeing these two royals from different royal families come together, which I always love. But I admit also I don't know much about the scoring system. Honestly, I don't really know anything, but I was trying to Google online to see like what this means, and who knows if this is already outdated information, but when I checked online, I saw an article and it said if England beats Slovenia and Denmark loses to Serbia, England could still be ahead. So who knows what's happened since I read that article this morning or if it was already out of date. But this week has just been way too busy for me. I am too deep in work events and a kitchen renovation to follow really any sporting events. Wish
Well,
them all
even
the
if
best.
all you did was just focus on the Royals, it's been so busy
Yes.
that it would be difficult. Yeah, to who knows? The listeners, help us out. What's going on? And I guess the tournament's still going on. I haven't heard anything different, but anyway, so it was a great. We love a good royal family crossover, royals around the world, British royal family. But before we go any further, so we kind of teed this up last week, Royal Ascot. So I know we teed it up last episode. It is over now. I think when we recorded last week, they were only just finished day one. So I wanted to break down our favorite moments, standout moments of the week, and of course the fashion. So one of my favorite moments of Royal Ascot, I already mentioned last week. It was day one. It was that sweet hug between Lady Gabriella Kingston and Zara Tindall, who Lady Gabriella has, of course, been through so much in 2024. Now Zara Tindall has too, but we'll talk about Princess Anne in a minute. But I also loved, I think this was day two, William helping Carol Middleton. Did you see this? Avoid an embarrassing moment. Her heel got caught in the grass. And then of course I also love seeing the Middletons period. So Carol and Michael Middleton, this was their first public appearance since Kate's Christmas Carol concert last December. And obviously, they've had a heck of a year as well. And I think this past Sunday, the 23rd, was Michael Middleton's birthday. So happy birthday to him. And it also did not escape me that Queen Camilla and Prince William rode in the carriage together without King Charles. I think that actually speaks more than maybe has been given its due about their newfound closeness, because the Royal Ascot is a social event. It is a royal engagement kind of, but it's mostly a social event. And so I think the step parent, I don't think, I know the step parent stepchild relationship can be difficult. I have had step parents. I'm glad to see this one in a really good place. And of course, as ever, it was so nice to see Sarah Ferguson there. She's basically a staple at royal events now, from Christmas at Sandringham to Easter to now Royal Ascot. So I just loved seeing her beautiful face there as well.
Yeah, I agree. And Royal Ascot is always a fun event to watch. And like you said, I mean, it's a time where we get to see the royals having a relaxed, fun time together. It does really feel like time off for them. Like they get to go and enjoy the show along with everyone else, which is probably a fun change. And we've kind of talked about this recently with all of our garden parties we've been seeing, and it's just kind of fun to get this close-up view of the family and the cousins and see them interacting together. And it's just, Royal Ascot is an exciting event to look forward to every year. It's just
Mm-hmm.
fun all around.
Yeah, this June is just, I mean, think about all that has happened since our last episode. We've had Trooping the Color June 15th, then we had Order of the Garter, then we had Royal Ascot, then we've got the Japanese state visit, which we'll talk about in a second. I mean, it's just a busy time of year. And I do want to talk fashion before we move on. So, Zara, can we just talk about Zara and how she's been wowing me forever? I mean, before the coronation, but definitely since the coronation, every time I see her, my breath is taken away. Zara Tyndall absolutely won the week for me. I could not believe how incredible she looked. And as I said, she's been for me one to watch for a while. But at Royal Ascot, I think she knocked it out of the park. So there were so many florals and pastels. I loved that. I loved Camilla's bold blue on day one. I think I mentioned that last week. I loved Eugenie's mint green on day one, which I also mentioned last week. Obsessed with Zara in that yellow, that pastel yellow on day one. And I know that you liked this look too, because I saw it on our Instagram. Zara's look on day three, which was this powder blue Rebecca Valance dress, was everything. And it was my favorite look of the entire week, not just from Zara, but from anybody. And you know what? I'm gonna give it to Harriet Sperling, who is Peter Phillips' new girlfriend. I thought she looked beautiful as well, but Zara just was the standout of all standouts for me last week.
Yeah, I honestly can't think of a fashion miss this year. I saw so many great looks, and my personal top favorites, like you said, Zara in the light blue dress. I did share that on our Instagram, and that's in our feed if listeners want to go look. I think she looks so great in that color, and she was in a similar color dress at the coronation last year,
That's
which
right.
was one of my favorite looks from the coronation. So that's really a great color on her. Another one of my favorites from Royal Ascot this year was Princess Beatrice, and really in both of her looks. So I
Mm-hmm.
did share the pink Zimmerman dress on Instagram that Beatrice wore. I loved that one. But actually, one of my favorite looks from her this year was really that green floral Amelia Wickstead dress. I loved that dress, and I
Yeah,
did
that
not
was
share it
beautiful.
on Instagram, but I need to find it and put it out there. I just, I don't know, it was fun. It felt super appropriate for the event, and I think both Zara and Princess Beatrice have been knocking it out of the park with fashion lately. And I can go all the way back to last year. I loved Princess Beatrice's look in that Monique Lillier dress last year
Mm-hmm.
too. And she did it again this year with great looks. So, I mean, really round of applause to both of them on the fashion front.
Yes, I also loved seeing Sophie. I loved seeing Lady Sarah Chatto. So it was a great week. And you know what? I just said a minute ago that June has been so lighthearted and fun. And I spoke too soon, I guess, because we get this news about Princess Anne on Monday, but this happened on Sunday night. Princess Anne is in the hospital, which is
Hmm.
just absolutely devastating. So on Monday, royal followers got some really scary news out of Gatcombe Park, which was Princess Anne's home. So on Sunday night, the Princess Royal, according to Buckingham Palace, suffered minor injuries and a concussion at her home, and that the injury happened while she was walking on her estate. So emergency services arrived at the scene. Anne was given medical care. She was then taken to Southmead Hospital in Bristol, where she remains as a quote unquote precautionary measure for observation. So her husband, Sir Timothy Lawrence, accompanied her to the hospital. She is, thank God, expected to make a full and swift recovery. And details are kind of starting to come out about what exactly happened, but exact details of the Princess Royal's injury are unknown, at least right now. But her medical team is understood to believe they're consistent, and this is awful, with a potential impact from a horse's head or
Hmm.
legs. That sounds awful. And let's keep in mind that Princess Anne is fit as a fiddle and strong as the day is long, but she is 73 years old.
Yeah.
So it's understood that in addition to her husband, Anne's children, Peter Phillips and Zara Tyndall, who we were just talking about, were also on the estate when the incident occurred. So the king released a statement about his only sister, and a statement from the palace said he is being kept abreast of developments when it comes to Anne. This is from the statement. The king has been kept closely informed and joins the whole royal family in sending his fondest love and well wishes to the princess for a speedy recovery. And again, that's from the statement. So as a result, the hardest working royal will miss the Japanese state visit this week. She also apparently had a planned tour to Canada that, of course, has to be canceled. She has already been, as she always is, way too busy this month. She had D-Day events, trooping the color. She was there for multiple days at Royal Ascot, Order of the Garter service, probably more where that came from. And by the way, and I don't even remember if we talked about this, but did you notice that Anne's horse was being a bit unruly and rambunctious at trooping the
Yes.
color
I
earlier
was
this
going to
month?
mention that. People were just commenting on how well she handled the horse at Trooping the Color.
I know. And I don't, who knows if it was the same horse? I don't know. But um, we just, as I feel like we say this all the time on the show, we're just sending well wishes and healing this time to the Princess Royal. And I'm hopeful, you know what, that she can get some much deserved rest. Although I obviously wish that she didn't have to come to that rest in this manner. And she is expected to return home later this week. She is apparently currently suffering some memory loss. She's not really sure what happened, but I don't think that's altogether uncommon from people that have suffered a concussion. She is
Yeah.
still expected to make a full recovery from what I've heard. So just really scary news. And after the lightheartedness of the Taylor Swift concert and Trooping the Color and all of the good, this was a bit of a setback. So I mean, I can
Yeah.
imagine your thoughts when you heard this, but what was your take when you heard this yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this sounds pretty serious. It sounds scary. Like you said, she's appears to be in great health, still riding. Look, horses are not new for her. She knows them well, but
Right.
they're big animals and anything can happen. So I was really surprised when I saw that headline come out, and I agree. I think when you're experiencing a little bit of memory loss following really any kind of an accident, whether that's falling off of a horse or, an automobile accident or something, some of that's a little bit normal. And hopefully, I think at least, hopefully, her memory will come back. And she'll be fine once she gets back home later this week. I'm really praying for the best for her and hope she makes a speedy full recovery. But really, really scary. And, goodness gracious, the Japanese royals, their visit has just been
I know.
taking a hit. They had to scale back. We didn't know if they would have it. So now people
Mhm.
aren't able to attend. So, I know we'll talk about that in just a second, but they've had it kind of tough getting this scheduled as well. And it's their first time back in the UK in quite a while.
I know, and we'll talk about that in a minute about just how I don't know. It just seems like very like it seems like a lot of people are missing, and I do believe that Princess Anne was supposed to be there, but just my gosh, just really scary, really unexpected, as has kind of everything with the royals and their health been in 2024. But just sending all the best to truly the hardest working woman in the royal family, not just woman, person in the royal
Yeah.
family, and just really honestly, a backbone of this family and such an aspirational person, and someone I wish I was more like personally. So just sending love her way. It's just very scary. And I know Zara was pictured at the hospital visiting her mom. Sir Timothy Lawrence is there. I don't know if I'm sure Peter's come by, but just yeah, just really scary. We'll keep you posted on that for sure. So let's talk, if you will, about the King and Queen's Oceania tour this fall. So the good news is that it looks like the King and Queen will be able to head to Oceania in October in their planned royal tour there. The bad news, it seems the trip has been scaled back significantly in light of Charles's cancer diagnosis earlier this year, which isn't bad news that it's been scaled back. But if you're a New Zealander or if you're from Fiji and you were looking forward to the King and Queen visiting your country, it looks like New Zealand and Fiji, those legs of the tour have been axed from the tour
Yeah.
schedule. So, according to the Daily Mail, the King and Queen were expected to visit Australia, New Zealand, and Fiji in October. But as I just said, both the New Zealand and Fiji legs of the tour will likely be dropped imminently as the King's medical team orders him to pace himself as he continues his cancer recovery. So they will still visit Australia, but the couple is also reportedly still expected to visit Samoa for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting that same month, which is, I think, the reason why they were going to go down there at that time in the first place. So the tour is now expected to last around 10 days. It will cover, instead of 4 countries, 2 countries, Australia and Samoa, and planning is still very much underway for it. And all of this is still very much subject to change. This is still 4 months away, and it continues to be subject to medical advice and any quote unquote necessary modifications. But I would be disappointed if I lived, in New Zealand or Fiji and was looking forward to seeing the King and Queen. But I think also anybody understands that
Yeah.
that his health has to come first. And the King is pushing himself way too hard. So he needs to be realistic about pacing himself.
I was gonna say 10 days is a sizable
That's
trip.
still long enough as it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll look forward to that, and hopefully it will stay on the calendar and will be a big success. I know we're going to continue talking about Charles and Camilla with the big state visit that we've got on the schedule to chat about today. But before we move on, I did want to mention really quickly in here, Thomas Kingston's memorial service was over the weekend, and I don't know if listeners saw this, but they held a memorial service for him. And as a reminder, Thomas Kingston was married to Lady Gabriella Windsor and sadly lost his life earlier this year in February. So the memorial service took place at St. Mary Abbott's Church in Kensington, and it was actually on Saturday, June 22nd, which would have been his 46th birthday.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, they did also have a service for him back in March, but this one I think was just a really touching way to remember him on his birthday. We did see a few familiar faces in some of the photos from the service. I believe Mike and Carol Middleton were there. Sarah Ferguson was also there, and Edo Mapelli Mazzi. I don't know if Beatrice had a conflict or if she was there and we just didn't see her, but we did see Fergie and Edo in attendance. So
Wow.
just sad, sad to think about
Yeah,
that tragedy
absolutely.
earlier in the year, and I thought a touching way to remember him.
Yeah, and it makes me happy that like Lady Gabrielle has been at Trooping the Colors. She was at Royal Ascot, and that actually makes I did not realize that it was Thomas Kingston's birthday, and so that makes the Zara hug like even more poignant, right? And
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
I'm really glad that so many members of the family, first of all, that Lady Gabrielle has been included so much in so many of the royal family occasions this month, and that so many members of the family or the extended family were able to come out and support her because it's just so tough. It's so
Mhm.
tough. Well, I don't know what I was expecting with this Japanese state visit, and it's fine. It's a typical state visit, but it just feels like without Kate, I don't know. We don't need to put this much like pressure on her. Like she can't carry the whole team, right? But it just feels like without her at these state banquets, there's just a bit of pizzazz that I'm missing. I don't know. But and the state visit is very much still underway. It was just day one today. Today's June 25th, Tuesday. The Japanese state visit kicked off today in the UK. It's thankfully still taking place. Like Jessica said a second ago, we didn't know at one point if the July 4th general election in the UK would upset those plans or not. And it is still early in the visit. It is just day one and it will continue on. So we're only going to be able to report on some of it, as day one, as I said, is today, Tuesday, as we record. So William welcomed Emperor Naruhito and Empress Masako of Japan. That is a hat tip to his ever growing role as a statesman. So then he traveled with the couple to Horse Guards Parade. They met up there with the king and queen for the ceremonial welcome. There was a carriage ride through the city back to Buckingham Palace. There was a lunch today and a viewing of items from the royal collection relating to Japan. So, a lot of people noticed, Jessica, that Empress Masako was wearing a mask today during the carriage procession, even though it was
Yeah.
obviously outside. And you know what? It might not be for the reason that you think. So, I'm wondering if you have any guesses as to why she was wearing a mask, because there is a perfectly good reason for it, but it might not be what listeners think.
Yeah, I don't have any guesses for this. We were just talking before we started recording. I was very wrapped up in other work commitments today, and I haven't even had a chance to really get a close-up look at a lot of the photos from the events of today. So I will be doing that later this evening after we record. I did see the photo of her in the face mask though, and I have to know, Rachel, what is the reason?
Well, she was actually wearing the mask because she is allergic to horses, God lover. So there they are at Horse Guards Parade. But according to Rebecca English, that was the reason for the accessory.
I believe she has that in common with the Princess of Wales, doesn't
She
she?
does. Yeah. Kate is allergic to horses as well.
Yeah.
So then later today, the Emperor and Empress visited Westminster Abbey to lay a wreath at the grave of the unknown warrior. And they also toured the church. Tonight is the big state banquet at Buckingham Palace. So it has happened. So we're recording at like, what is it, 8 o'clock Eastern. So it's happened a few hours ago in the UK. And Kate was not there, but that's not really surprising. So Camilla looked beautiful. She wore one of her favorite tiaras, which was the Burmese ruby tiara. She wore a white gown. I think I dropped a photo in here. And Sophie wore a kind of call out to Kate. I don't know if she did that intentionally, but Sophie wore the lotus flower tiara. That is her first time wearing this tiara. And listeners, if you'll remember, Kate wore that tiara to the diplomatic corps reception at Buckingham Palace back in December of 2022. So Kate has only worn four tiaras in her time as a royal, which is kind of crazy to think. And
Yeah.
that is one of the newer ones. I think the Strathmore Rose is new as well, but the Lotus Flower has not worn very often. But if that was a tribute to Kate, then that was very sweet of Sophie.
Yeah, very interesting to hear about their choice in attire and the tiers that they're selecting for these events. I know we talk about that a lot, but I was looking at this photo that you dropped in the notes and noticing that Queen Camilla, she's got this white dress and pops of red in her tiara. I have to feel like must be a call out to the Japanese flag. Don't you
Yep.
feel like the red and the white?
Totally. Fashion diplomacy at its finest. Totally.
I also have to mention, so like I said, I did briefly see some photos and videos of the events from today, and I don't know if you would agree with me, Rachel, but the content that I saw felt really, really similar to a lot of the photos and videos that we get from the other European royal families when they host state visits. And I don't know why. It seems to me, though, like Buckingham Palace usually doesn't feature this type of content. We'll get a photo here and there of dresses and tiaras, but I saw a video today showing the guards adjusting their uniforms. I saw the staff making the floral arrangements and place settings being put out in the banquet hall. And I was thinking, okay, this level of content is giving like Sweden and Belgium royal videos right now.
No, you're so right because like they normally don't show the behind the scenes of getting ready for the banquet, but they did today, and that's actually a really good call out that I didn't think of. But that does really mirror, but like I'm thinking of Sweden right now and all those behind the scenes
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good call out.
Well, speaking of Buckingham Palace, I don't know if you saw this video. It popped up for me today as well, but they shared a little bit about a renovation project that they've done to the East Wing. And I
Mhm.
thought that was really interesting to see how they go about, making these repairs and restoring the building. So if listeners haven't seen that, go check it out. I watched them showing how they replaced the floorboards. And they mentioned they had to replace 47,000 floorboards.
My
And
God.
yeah, and they made a note that, it's different than a normal renovation project. They've been under, I guess, a requirement to use as much of the original timber as possible in restoring this, and to keep interventions very minimal. I think intervention was the word that they used, but kind of cool to see them, just maintain a really beautiful historic building like that. So go watch that video, if you haven't already.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet, so I want to see that as well. I know those renovations are supposed to continue until I think 2027, so it's interesting. Well, as we close the royal rundown and move into royals around the world, I want to end on a good note. We had some good news, we had some tough news too, but I think this is a really sweet note to end the royal rundown on. So William and Kate are hiring a correspondence specialist whose role, at least in part, is to keep up with the mountain of well wishes, cards, and gifts and stuff being sent Kate's way as she continues her treatment for cancer. Isn't that cool? Like they had to create an entirely like new job for this. That's amazing, actually. So the job has now been taken down. I think it was on LinkedIn for 5 days or something like that. So unfortunately, listeners, you can't apply anymore unless you already have. But what a cool reason to create a job. So I just thought that was worth a brief mention and just shows how beloved Kate is. They have to create an entire job to keep up with all the mail.
Well, okay, so I hadn't seen this yet, but first I have to say it's kind of funny that it was on LinkedIn, just kind of out there.
I know, right?
Um, but also I really hope that whoever gets hired for this role, doesn't lose a job after, all of the correspondence dies down. Hopefully they can find another role within their team that this person can take on.
I know, right? Like, I mean, prayerfully, she will end cancer treatment at some point, but maybe the letters will just never die down. So I just,
Yeah.
what a cool, like, what a cool job, like responding and saying thank you for sending a card. I just think that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder if part of her or his job is also like picking out the ones that you want to share with the Princess of Wales. I think that's
Probably,
cool too.
probably that's a cool job.
Well, I think that's it for Royal Rundown. Do we have anything else?
I don't think so, but we have some really big news in royals around the world. So what's going on in Luxembourg?
This episode is brought to you by Essentia. A better you starts with better hydration. Essentia is on a mission to inspire people to do what matters most. Their proprietary ionization process transforms water from any source into ionized alkaline water, providing water that's 99.9% pure with a pH of 9.5 or higher. Essentia Overachieving H2O, the #1 ionized alkaline water. Shop now.
Oh, hey, we're invited to the Johnson Summer Pool Party this Saturday.
Oh, Saturday? But that's when the Blinds guy's coming to give us a quote.
Oh, I already found everything we need at Blinds.com. They're totally online, so we don't have to wait around all day just to get a quote. And they're sending us free samples.
Well, Blinds.com sounds like a no-brainer.
Shop Blinds.com's 4th of July early access sale now for up to 50% off site-wide. Up to 50% off at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Yeah, we had some very interesting news come out of Luxembourg over the weekend. So Sunday, June 23rd was Luxembourg's National Day. And I was actually seeing some pictures online from events going on, in honor of the day on Sunday. I saw some stuff posted and I was scrolling and then I saw this post from the Grand Duke that was quite unexpected. So the Grand Duke shared that he will be appointing his son, who is the current hereditary Grand Duke, as lieutenant representative in October of this year. So what does that mean for Luxembourg and the royal family? Ultimately, the Grand Duke will continue to be recognized as head of state, but he is basically delegating the decision-making power to his son. He's granting him that right, which looks to be a first step in moving toward an abdication at some point in the future. So from my understanding of this, a full abdication might not actually take place for several years, as far as we know. That announcement hasn't been made. We really don't know how long the transition process could be. it just appears in this move that he's beginning to maybe make plans for a retirement at some point rather than serving in this role for life. So I will mention the Grand Duke is 69, his son is 42, and so that also I'll point out that's the same age as Prince William. So just kind of an interesting fun fact there. But this transition and abdication is not unheard of for Luxembourg. So Grand Duke Henri, our current Grand Duke, he served in the same kind of transition role of lieutenant representative for 2 years before he stepped into the role of monarch following the last Grand Duke's abdication. So we'll see. We'll continue to watch this. We'll see what happens. I think it's very interesting. I feel like we've kind of chatted about this in light of other abdications, in recent months, but we do know that the Grand Duke and Grand Duchess are also grandparents. So they also seem like they like to travel a good bit still. So I'm wondering if they're maybe thinking like Queen Margrethe of Denmark and just looking to enjoy those golden years in retirement. So really kind of hopefully exciting and fun news for them. But I have to know what you think about this because I know you saw it as well.
I did, and I'm interested to see how this is all going to play out. But because it's not really as cut and dry as, like, for example, Queen Margrethe's abdication, where she just kind of where she was seems to be done. But I mean, this isn't. It is shocking, but it's also not, because Henri said earlier in the year that this was his plan. That we reported on this earlier in the year that he wanted to retire. Voluntary abdication in Luxembourg is not uncommon. His own father, Jean, abdicated voluntarily in the year 2000, and so it's in his I believe, well, I want to say his mother before. I mean, it's happened in almost every monarch for, I think, the past 3 or 4 monarchs in Luxembourg. So this is not uncommon. Henri has served for 24 years and he's nearing 70. That's a milestone birthday. And so he said to I think it was a French publication earlier this year that retirement was going to happen. He didn't give any details in that interview about when, but now we know when. And so not entirely surprised, but just very interested to see how this will play out from, like, a constitutional head of state point of view. But yeah, it's just interesting, isn't it? Like we talked about abdications earlier in the year. It's interesting how abdications vary from monarch to monarch, monarchy to monarchy, right? Like in Denmark, I don't think they'd had an abdication in 900 years before Margrethe did it earlier this year. And Henri's father abdicated voluntarily. So it's just it's proving the point that we made earlier in the year that abdications actually happen a lot more often than you might think around the world.
Well, and like we were just talking about, I don't know when the actual abdication will take place, but if he chose to fully abdicate next year, it would be kind of a nice round number. He would be 70. He would have served for 25 years. So I don't know if that's his plan, but it's a nice, like, cap to move into retirement. I feel
that's nice and neat. And I mean, he's got plenty of life left, prayerfully, and so he'll be there for his son, whose name I cannot pronounce for the life of me. And it's exciting. It's a new day for the monarchy, and so I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, me too. Well, we also got some fun news out of Spain recently. So a few months ago, I know listeners remember, we shared that the Japanese royal family had launched an official Instagram account, and Spain is following suit.
I can't believe they don't have one already, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was surprised by that too, but I love to see them all kind of jumping in on Instagram and sharing glimpses into their lives and the work that they're doing. So King Felipe and Queen Letizia launched their account. It was last Thursday on June 20th. The account is for La Casa de SM El Rey. And I already noticed they were sharing stories on there. I watched a few of them. When they launched the account, they did share some photos of the king and queen along with their daughters. And like I said, I just think this is a great way to keep up with their work and the causes that they support, especially for us, Rachel, as we like to report on the podcast, I think we get a completely different view of events than we might normally read on like a press release or in a news article. It's just up close and personal, and they've got so much more freedom to have fun on their social media accounts. So, welcome to Instagram, Spain.
I'm shocked that this is just now happening. And speaking of, so first of all, the Spanish royal family is very beautiful and very photogenic, so they will do just fine on Instagram. But you're right. The Japanese royal family just launched their own Instagram earlier this year. I'm interested to see how they cover the content from this state visit. So we'll see what happens.
Great point. Well, we've got one more little thing to mention on royals around the world coming from Sweden. So Sweden celebrated midsummer on June 22nd, which was Saturday. And this is the summer solstice, which I think we probably all know is the longest day of the year. And it's actually a holiday in the country of Sweden. So in celebration of this, the Swedish royal family shared a few pictures online that I thought were really cute. One was of King Carl Gustaf and Queen Sylvia, who I guess maybe she has a produce garden. I'm not really sure, but they were standing outside and Queen Sylvia was in this like traditional looking Swedish dress and she was holding a bowl of fresh strawberries. So I'm going to just assume they were just picked. I didn't see a strawberry patch in the background, but they looked pretty fresh to me. But you can see a lake in the background. They're kind of standing next to some outdoor furniture off to their side. And I just have to say, Rachel, as someone who is currently enduring 100-degree humid summer weather here in the Southeast US, Swedish summers sound like a breath of fresh air. So I had to check the temperature today. And this week, the highs are in the mid 70s to low 80s. So that sounds great. I think they're hovering around that in England as well.
This is the time to be in that part of the world because it's like in the wintertime, not so much, but in the summertime, no better.
Definitely. And then Princess Madeline of Sweden also shared some summer photos. She did one that I really liked. So it was her and her 3 children. They were standing on a dock with a lake in the background, and she and her girls are wearing these pink flower crowns. It was really cute. So happy summer solstice to everyone. And Rachel, I know we've been talking about going to the beach together. I think we should have a summer party.
I agree, and I think it should be at the beach. So we will discuss that offline.
Yes, and that wraps up our episode. So as we close, I do want to let listeners know we're probably going to take a few weeks off here and there for the summer. You guys know we always take off for the month of August because that's when the royals are off, but we're planning to be off for a few weeks in July as well. We do, however, have a few interviews planned over the course of the next few weeks, and we'll pop on if we have any major news to share. So we don't really have a set schedule. Go out there and subscribe. Just hit that follow or subscribe button on your podcast app. I think Apple Podcasts lets you do that for sure. So you won't miss an episode when we have one drop, because we'll be a little bit off of our normal schedule, and then we'll come back to regularly scheduled programming in the fall. But
lots of exciting interviews though, like with really big names. So stay tuned.
Yeah, we won't tease them yet, but they're coming. So get ready for that. Well, Rachel, you ready to call this an episode?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, please, as always, come hang out with us on Instagram. We are at Podcast Royal. And if you have questions or thoughts, you can DM us on Instagram. You can also send us an email at hellopodcastroyal@gmail.com. Please, please, please take a few minutes to go out there and leave us a 5-star rating and a review so we have something to read over the summer, and we'll see everybody.
That's all we're going to be reading is your 5-star reviews. Just kidding. But make sure it's good.
The summer beach read, Rachel, will be those reviews. But all right. Well, thank you again for tuning into episode 146 of Podcast Royal. Bye.
Bye.